Before I share the most devastating Valentine's Day of my life, please take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, because what happens next will leave you speechless. The Valentine's Day, I'll never forget, wasn't about romance, but revelation. What started as an innocent discovery 3 weeks earlier, a receipt for 2 designer watches in my wife's purse when I was looking for aspirin, had spiraled into an investigation that consumed my every waking moment. Now, 16 years of marriage hung by a thread as I carefully positioned our framed wedding photo in the center of the coffee table, angling it so it would be the first thing Rachel saw when she walked through the door. "David, are you absolutely certain about this?" my mother-in-law Eleanor whispered, her usually composed demeanor cracking under the weight of what was about to unfold. She sat perched on the edge of our sofa, her husband Robert's hand clasped tightly in hers. I had always admired Eleanor, her strength, her integrity. Now her eyes were rimmed with red, evidence of the tears she'd shed since I'd called them, this morning with my devastating discovery. "I wish I wasn't," I replied, straightening a photo of Rachel and me in Sri Lanka for our 10th anniversary, her smile radiant, genuine, or so I had thought. But there's no mistake. The investigator confirmed everything. My brother Michael paced by the window, periodically glancing out, as if Rachel might come home at any moment. "This is insane," he muttered. "Rachel? Our Rachel? The woman who organized your surprise 40th birthday party? Who sat by your hospital bed for 3 days straight when you had appendicitis?" I nodded, the pain in my chest intensifying. That was the cruelest part, reconciling the woman I thought I knew with the stranger captured in the photographs, burning a hole in the manila envelope on the table. "She's been seeing him for at least 6 months, I said, the words still foreign. "James Bennett, her high school sweetheart." Robert, my father-in-law, made a sound somewhere between a groan and a curse. "That worthless—" He stopped himself, glancing at his wife. "I never trusted that boy, even back then. His family may have been friends with ours, but there was always something off about him." My sister Olivia arrived next, bringing sandwiches nobody would eat and nobody could fully return. She had been the one to recommend the private investigator. Her own marriage had ended similarly 5 years ago. "Where are the girls?" she asked, quietly. "At Mom's," I replied. "I told them we were planning a surprise for Rachel and needed them out of the house." The thought of our twins, Sophia and Emma, 16 years old with their mother's eyes and my stubborn chin, made my throat constrict. How would I tell them their family was imploding? That their mother had been living a double life? The hours crawled by, each minute stretching into what felt like years. The house, usually alive with music or the girls' laughter, was suffocatingly silent except for the occasional cough or shifted position. By 6:30 p.m., Rachel was officially 2 hours late coming home from what she'd claimed was Valentine's Day shopping for something special. "Maybe she's not coming back," Michael suggested, breaking a silence that had lasted 20 minutes. "Maybe she figured out you know." I shook my head. "She doesn't know." The investigator was careful, and she would never leave without seeing the girls. That much, at least, I was certain of. Whatever else Rachel had become, she was a devoted mother. At 7:22 p.m., headlights swept across the living room wall. We all froze, a tableau of anticipated confrontation. Keys jingled in the lock. The door swung open. If you're feeling the tension right now, hit that like button and help this channel be seen by more beautiful people like you guys. What's going on?" Her voice carried a tremor that might have been convincing if I hadn't seen the photographs. "Is everyone okay? The girls—" "The girls are fine," I interrupted, standing from my position on the armchair. "They're at my mother's house." Relief washed over her face, quickly replaced by confusion. "Then what is this?" Why is everyone here? Her eyes fell on our wedding photo, prominently displayed, and something like panic flickered across her features. I gestured to the roses. Those aren't for me, are they, Rachel? She clutched them tighter, defensive. Of course they are. I was shopping all day to find the perfect gift for you. She attempted a laugh that fell horribly flat. I know roses are cliché, but the florist convinced me. Stop lying. The words came not from me, but from Eleanor. For God's sake, Rachel, stop insulting us all with more lies. Rachel took a step back, as if physically struck. Mom? What are you talking about? I reached for the manila envelope with deliberate slowness. The seal made a tearing sound that seemed unnaturally loud as I extracted the first photograph. I know where you were today, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I know exactly who you were with. I laid the first photograph on the coffee table. Rachel entering La Belle Époque, the most expensive French restaurant in the city. Not alone. That's not... No. She began, but her protest stopped as I laid down the second photograph. Rachel and James Bennett, toasting with champagne, their fingers intertwined across the table. Her father surged to his feet. How long, Rachel? How long has this been going on behind David's back? Rachel's face had drained of all color. Dad, please, this isn't what it seems. Another photograph. Rachel and James walking through Riverside Park, his arm around her waist, her head on his shoulder. 6 months, I answered for her. According to your credit card statements, mysterious afternoon appointments, and the private investigator I hired 3 weeks ago when I found receipts for watches in your purse, watches that never made it to my wrist. You had me followed? The audacity of it nearly made me laugh. That's what you're angry about? Olivia interjected, disbelief coloring her voice. That your betrayal was discovered? The final photograph was the most damning. Outside James's car, a passionate embrace that left no room for misinterpretation, the timestamp showing just 2 hours earlier. Rachel's composure shattered completely. The roses fell from her grasp, scattering across our hardwood floor. She sank to her knees, reaching for me. David, please, she sobbed, clutching at the hem of my pants. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. A mistake? My brother's voice dripped with contempt. This is no mistake. This is a systematic betrayal. Her mother stood abruptly, trembling with a fury I'd never witnessed in the typically gentle woman. Was it worth it, Rachel? Was it worth destroying your family for him? James Bennett, her first love, the boy who'd broken her heart in college when he left her for a scholarship across the country. Now a successful architect, married to Sarah Bennett, father to their 3 children, and board member at the same charity foundation where Rachel volunteered. I want you to pack your things and leave, I said, each word measured and deliberate. What happened next shocked everyone. Robert pulled out his phone, his fingers shaking with rage. I've had enough. I'm calling James right now. Rachel lunged for her father, panic overtaking her features. Dad, no, please don't. But Robert stepped away, his voice ice cold. His family has known ours for 30 years. His father and I built that summer cabin together. He doesn't get to destroy my daughter's marriage and walk away unscathed. The room descended into chaos. Rachel begged her father to stop as he barked into the phone, demanding James come to our house immediately. Eleanor wept silently in the corner while Olivia put an arm around her. Michael stationed himself between Rachel and the door, as if he expected her to bolt. I stood in the eye of this emotional hurricane, strangely calm. 16 years of marriage, 2 beautiful daughters, countless memories, Christmas mornings, summer vacations, midnight conversations about our hopes and dreams. All of it contaminated now retroactively transformed by the knowledge that the woman at the center of these memories was capable of such calculated deception. 23 excruciating minutes later, the doorbell rang. Michael looked to me for instruction. I nodded, and he opened the door. James Bennett stood on my doorstep, tall, expensively dressed, and visibly uncomfortable. His eyes, shifty, unable to meet mine, revealed everything about his character. "You wanted to see me?" His voice carried a forced casualness that fooled no one. Robert grabbed him by the lapels and yanked him inside. "Fix this," he growled, shoving James toward the center of the room where Rachel still knelt among the scattered roses. "Now." James surveyed the scene, taking in the family tableau and the damning photographs still displayed on the coffee table. Something calculating passed across his face as he assessed the situation. His eyes lingered on Rachel, who stared up at him with desperate hope. "Look," he began, straightening his jacket where Robert had gripped it. "This got completely out of hand. We ran into each other at that charity gala last summer, started talking about old times. It was nostalgic, that's all." "Nostalgic?" I stepped closer, fury finally breaking through my numb detachment. "You call secret hotel meetings and Valentine's Day dates while your wife thinks you're at a business conference nostalgic?" Rachel scrambled to her feet, reaching for James. "Tell them," she pleaded, her mascara leaving black tracks down her cheeks. "Tell them what you promised me today." Every eye in the room turned to James. A weighted silence descended, as we all waited for his response. The transformation in his demeanor was subtle, but unmistakable. He took a small step back from Rachel's, his expression shifting from discomfort to something harder, more self-preserving. "I'm sorry, Rachel," he said, his voice devoid of the warmth it surely must have held just hours ago at the restaurant. "I was never going to leave Sarah. I have children, a reputation in this community. This was—" he paused, searching for words before landing on the cruelest possible truth. "It was fun, but that's all it was." The betrayal within the betrayal hung in the air like shattered glass. Rachel stared at him in mute shock, her expression one of absolute devastation. "But you said," she whispered. "This morning, you said when the timing was right." "I said what you wanted to hear," James cut her off, his tone almost bored now. "That's how these things work, Rachel. You're not exactly new to the game. My heart, which I thought couldn't possibly break any further, cracked along new fault lines at the implication. How many others had there been over our 16 years? You bastard," Eleanor hissed, surprising everyone. She crossed the room in 3 quick strides and slapped James, hard across the face. "You strung my daughter along, knowing you'd never leave your wife." James touched his reddening cheek, anger flashing in his eyes. "Your daughter knew exactly what this was. She's a grown woman who made her choices, same as me." He turned to me with something almost like sympathy. "For what it's worth, I never intended for any of this to come out. We were careful." "Careful?" "You were in my bed when I was in Chicago for my father's funeral last month. The housekeeper saw your car. This revelation, one I'd been saving, a final twist, caused Rachel to collapse completely. She sank back to the floor, her sobs filling our home as the full extent of her betrayal was laid bare. "Take her with you," I said quietly to James. He backed away, shaking his head emphatically. "That's not happening. I'm going home to my wife. I suggest you all figure this out as a family." He turned toward the door, then paused. "And if anyone approaches Sarah with this, remember I have far more evidence of Rachel's willingness in this affair than you'd want public." With that final threat, he walked out, the door closing behind him with a decisive click. For several moments, no one moved. The only sound was Rachel's broken weeping and the tick of the grandfather clock in the hallway, a wedding gift from her parents, marking the seconds of our disintegrating marriage. Finally, Robert helped Eleanor to her feet. "We'll take her home with us tonight," he said, his voice hollow with disappointment as he looked down at his daughter. "She can't stay here, not after this." As they guided Rachel toward the door, she suddenly twisted in their grip and lunged toward me. "David, please," she begged, her face ravaged by tears and desperation. 16 years! Think of the girls. We can fix this. I'll do anything." I looked at this woman, this stranger wearing my wife's face, and felt nothing but a vast, echoing emptiness. "There's nothing left to fix, Rachel." After they left, carrying only Rachel's purse and a promise to return for her things, the house felt cavernous. Michael and Olivia helped me clean up, gathering the scattered roses and righting furniture that had been disturbed during the confrontation. "What, will you tell the girls?" Olivia asked gently as she swept up rose petals. The question hit me hard. Our beautiful daughters, so innocent and undeserving of this chaos. "The truth," I said after a long pause. "Not every detail, but enough. They're 16, not 6. They'll hear rumors anyway." Michael tapped my shoulder. "Do you want us to stay?" I shook my head. "I need to be alone for a while. Then I'm going to pick up the girls from Mom's and bring them home." After they reluctantly left, I gathered the fallen roses, each one a symbol of what had been lost, and carried them to the fireplace. I watched them burn while calling my mother, explaining in as few details as possible that Rachel wouldn't be coming home and asking her to help the girls pack overnight bags because Daddy was coming to bring them home for a special Valentine's dinner. As I hung up, a hidden memory surfaced. Rachel and me, dancing in this very room after bringing the twins home from the hospital. Exhausted but deliriously happy, swaying to no music, her head on my chest, as she whispered, "This is forever, David. You, me, and our girls. Forever." The memory burned as surely as the roses in the grate. I was setting the table for 3 when my phone buzzed with a text, unknown number. I opened it to find a message from Sarah Bennett. I knew about them since December, was gathering evidence for my lawyer. "Thank you for exposing everything tonight. I'm taking my children to my sisters. James will lose everything he values, starting with his reputation. I thought you deserved to know." A strange sense of solidarity washed over me. Another spouse betrayed, another family fractured. I wondered briefly if she had suspected all along, just as a part of me had noticed the subtle changes in Rachel over the past months, her sudden interest in charity galas, her distraction during conversations. The doorbell rang at 9:30 p.m., startling me from my thoughts. Assuming it was Michael or Olivia returning to check on me, I opened it without looking. Rachel stood on the doorstep, alone, her eyes swollen, nearly shut from crying. She'd changed clothes, jeans and a sweater I didn't recognize. "David, my darling," she whispered. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Every instinct told me to shut the door, but something, perhaps 16 years of habit, made me step aside. "The girls will be here soon," I warned. She nodded, remaining just inside the entryway, as if afraid to contaminate more of the house with her presence. "I know what James said, about it just being fun," she began, her voice raspy from crying. "He was lying. He's been promising to leave Sarah for months. He has an apartment ready in the city. Tickets to Paris for next week." She fumbled in her pocket and produced a key. "See? He gave me this today at lunch. The apartment key." I stared at the key, tangible evidence of how far the deception had progressed. "And that makes it better somehow? That you were planning to abandon our daughters? To destroy 2 families? She flinched. The girls would have adjusted. We would have had shared custody. Stop. My voice cut through her justifications. Just stop, Rachel. You don't get to rewrite this story to make yourself the victim. James used you. You used me. Our children are the only victims here. Something hardened in her expression, a glimpse, perhaps, of the calculating woman who had maintained a double life for months. You weren't exactly husband of the year, David. All those late nights at the office, those business trips. Don't you dare, I whispered, fury making my vision blur. Don't you dare try to justify what you did by inventing failures on my part. I worked those late nights to pay for the house you wanted in this neighborhood. Those business trips built the company that funds the lifestyle you enjoy. She opened her mouth to argue further, but headlights swept across the front windows. My mother's car pulling into the driveway with the twins. You need to leave, I said, opening the door. I called my lawyer. He will contact you tomorrow. Panic flooded her features. David, no! The girls are coming. Let me explain to them. Let me… You lost that right when you were planning your new life in Paris, I replied coldly. I'll handle this. Go back to your parents. With one last desperate look, Rachel slipped out the back door just as the twins approached the front entrance, overnight bags in hand, faces bright with confusion and excitement about this mysterious Valentine's surprise. Dad! Emma exclaimed, wrapping her arms around me. What's going on? Why did we have to pack bags? Is Mom okay? Sophia, always more perceptive, studied my face. Something's wrong, she said quietly. Where's Mom? I guided them to the living room sofa, taking a deep breath. I need to tell you both something difficult, I began, taking their hands in mine. Your mother and we're going to be living apart for a while. Their expressions crumpled of confusion. The questions came in a torrent. Why? Since when? Is it temporary? Where is Mom now? I answered as truthfully as age-appropriate boundaries would allow, emphasizing that they were loved, that they were not responsible, that sometimes adults make choices that change everything. Mom made one of those choices, I explained gently. She's staying with Grandma Eleanor and Grandpa Robert for now. Can we call her? Emma asked tearfully. Tomorrow, I promised. Tonight, it's just us three. We ate pizza in front of the fireplace instead of the formal Valentine's dinner I'd planned. The girls huddled close on either side of me. They fell asleep that way, one on each shoulder, and I let them stay, unwilling to move and break what fragile peace we'd managed to construct from the day's wreckage. 3 months later, life continues its unexpected journey. The divorce was finalized last week, expedited by Rachel's adultery and her surprising decision not to contest any of my terms regarding asset division. She lives in an apartment downtown, seeing the girls on weekends and Wednesday evenings. They're adjusting slowly, with the help of a family therapist who specializes in adolescent trauma. James and Sarah Bennett's divorce made the local papers when it emerged that James had embezzled nearly $1 million from his family's foundation. Money he'd apparently been setting aside for his planned new life. He's facing criminal charges and has moved out of state while awaiting trial. Rachel called yesterday, our first non-logistics conversation since Valentine's Day. I never meant to hurt you, she said, her voice small through the phone. I got lost somewhere along the way. I know, I replied, and was surprised to realize I meant it. The white-hot rage had cooled to something like pity. Take care of yourself, Rachel. Be good to our girls. Eleanor and Robert have remained fixtures in the twins' lives, and, surprisingly, in mine. You'll always be our son, Eleanor told me last Sunday when they came for dinner. Some family bonds transcend divorce. And me? I'm learning that endings aren't always tragic. Sometimes they're just the beginning of something true. The company is thriving. The girls are healing. Last week, I signed up for a cooking class, something I'd always wanted to try but never made time for. The instructor, a woman with kind eyes and a patient smile, showed me how to properly chop an onion, a basic skill I'd somehow never learned in 42 years of life. Start fresh, she advised when I mangled my first attempt. Sometimes the best thing to do is just start over. Wise words for chopping onions. Wiser still for rebuilding a life. This journey of betrayal and redemption isn't just my story. It might be yours too. If this video touched your heart or helped you feel less alone in your own struggles, smash that like button right now. Your support helps stories like mine reach others who need to hear them. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. Drop a comment and share this story with your friends. I will see you tomorrow with another epic story. This is Complicated Relationships.